Hi, my name is Serdar Kaan Yılmaz, and my topic is Queen Elizabeth I and Colonialism, Golden Age. Hailed as the Virgin Queen, Elizabeth was perhaps the most powerful revolutionary queen ever ruled England. Elizabeth inherited a part that was traditionally played by two people, two important persons, both king and queen. King was supposed to be a decisive leader, strong-willed, and determined to do duty. On the other hand, Queen was supposed to be religious, merciful, and charitable. However, Elizabeth did extraordinary thing. She played these two characters at the same time successfully. She ruled like a man and a king, and took care of her country like a mother and woman. During the 45 years of Elizabeth's reign, England flourished in all aspects from economics to government. Also, it was Queen Elizabeth who started the significant period of British colonization and led one of the greatest nations in history into its greatest era, which known as Golden Age. In order to gain more insight about Golden Age and colonialism, let's get information about her early life and pains she suffered from an ascent to the throne. Concerning her early life and adolescence, on September 7, 1533, she was born at Greenwich Palace. All family members and nurses thought she would be a boy. However, she turned out to be a girl surprisingly, and she was named Elizabeth after her two grandmothers. Her father was King Henry VIII and her mother was Anne Boleyn. Therefore, Elizabeth, their child, was to be the child of Reformation in future. Elizabeth's mother, whose name is Anne Boleyn, was executed in 1547 when Elizabeth was just 2 years old for adultery. King Henry was so disappointed that his only child from that marriage was female. Elizabeth was keenly aware of her father's disappointment of her. She had everything a little girl could ever want, but lacked the one thing she truly desired, her father's love and acceptance. While she was suffering from his mother's death, Henry's last wife, whose name is Catherine Parr, made sure Elizabeth was highly educated and spent some time under the care of her stepmother. Faced with such loneliness and heartache, Elizabeth took comfort in her one pleasure in life, her studies. Therefore, she did not remain ignorant child and was raised much like any other royal girl. She received tutoring and excellent at languages, so she could speak around 9 several languages fluently and accurately. Even though King Henry's temperament was relatively mellowed by the birth of his male heir, Edward VI, Elizabeth still feared her father and avoided the court life whenever possible. Even after her father died in 1547 and young Edward was crowned King of England, Elizabeth continued to avoid the court life. Then, the young King Edward VI died in 1553. As for the following, surprisingly, it was the Mary who was the cousin of Elizabeth become queen instead of her. Bloody Mary, who is famous for her persecution of Protestants, became queen. The reason of this behavior was that Mary was determined to return England to Catholicism. Also, because of Elizabeth was Protestant, she punished and imprisoned her in the Tower of London. Mary died from illness in 1558. This death made Elizabeth her successor to the throne, so she became the Queen of England at age 25. Elizabeth returned England to Protestantism, developing the Church of England while maintaining some Catholic elements such as the crucifix. Therefore, appeasing both sides and private council was reduced and its Catholic influence reduced by removing such members. There was also friction that was generated by years of religious and political inequalities between Catholic Spain and Protestant England. The Spanish saw England as a competitor in commerce and colonization in the New World of Americans. The breaking point came after the execution of Mary, the Queen of Scots. The decapitation of Mary, Queen of Scots, ordered by Elizabeth, was the last straw for Philip II in religious disputes between these two countries. The outbreak of war was inevitable, but Elizabeth defeated Spanish Armada and Philip II. She brought England into a cultural renaissance, also known as the Golden Age, which secured the England after the Spanish maritime power. The reign of Elizabeth was considered as era of prosperity and riches as Golden Age of England and also the Elizabethan Age, since these years were periods of great victories in England. The period is often known as the English Revival. The age occasionally considered as English Renaissance. Developments of England in certain areas made Elizabeth I the most powerful reformer and the most well-known queen of all in the history of England. These areas are economy, arts, explorations, fashion, and government. First, as England became part of the dominant maritime power of the West, this powerful force at sea made England the most prosperous trading hub and made merchant classes the richest class. The success of merchants brought especially war refugees, immigration, which increased the wealth of England, while the merchant class raised the economy of government. Next field is art. England's prosperity and peace after Spanish Armada created an atmosphere where the arts developed. In terms of theater, poetry, and music, the art grew and strengthened with such playwrights as William Shakespeare. Moreover, in the life of nobles, fashion also plays a significant part. Elizabeth implemented new laws with the goal of this reform, which is actually about defining borders for choosing type of clothes. For example, only members of royal families could wear fancy clothes or few. The next developing field is government during Elizabeth's Golden Age. It is possible to describe government system in three main parts during Golden Age. There were the Queen, known as monarch, the Senate, also known as a parliament, and the Council of Privy. Elizabeth was the queen, so she did not have to be ratified by parliament or obtain approval from them. The Privy Council will, however, could make suggestions or offer any recommendations on improvements or various type of circumstances. When it comes to exploring, Queen Elizabeth was keen to seek new trading paths or undiscovered bits of lands to further raise resources. By doing so, she could not only pursue new potential profits in terms of economic supremacy, but also spread the language, faith, and other cultural norms of England. Current one's Protestantism because of the Queen Elizabeth. England could be triumphant over other lands or nations. This is also called colonialism. Thirdly, explorations Elizabeth accomplished are very much related to colonialism of Elizabeth. She began a significant era of British colonialism. From her eyes, colonialism takes place in a state that spread by placing other countries, communities, or lands under the political and economic rule of England. The tale began after Spanish and Portugal, including the New World, took control over the Atlantic. And so the race has begun. Therefore, Elizabeth decided to create and send out a navy, which is a serious headache for Spain and Philip II. The navy carried out the mission and founded the first colony, whose name is Roanoke. She also organized missions headed by Francis Drake, to establish colonies in Caribbean. Elizabeth managed to take her ships into uncharted territories after crushing the Catholic King Philip II of Spain. Francis Drake completed his quest after these explorations with the goal of applying colonization and found new land called Virginia, named after the Virgin Queen Elizabeth. In conclusion, Elizabeth I became ill in February 1603, caught fever, and died about a month later. Mankind called her reign period after her death as Golden Age. In terms of economics, literature, government, fashion, and exploration, England flourished greatly under her reign, which has also contributed to the spread of colonialism. Elizabeth always decided herself to her own country and said she was married to her own country. Therefore, she emphasized and showed that the single queen could be strong and great leader on her own. She could prove this only by these lines during Spanish Navy awaits in front of her. I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. And think fools grown that any prince of Europe should dare to invade my borders of my realm. Elizabeth was able to spread the English language, cultural characteristics, economic sovereignty, and acquire trade points, and made tremendous advances to the England with colonialism. Thanks for listening to me. Have a good day.